All right, today I'm super excited because we're talking about your first GORUCK Tough event. And the critical part of this is, what do you buy, what do you put it in, and how do you arrange it? So we're gonna talk about everything that goes into the rucksack, everything you need to go and get now so you have it to practice with. Make sure you put it in the right spot, figure out what gear works best for you, and then you can put it all in, see how much it weighs, and practice at that game day weight so you can be totally prepared for that very first GORUCK Tough or Light and, scalable, maybe for a heavy. So anyway, let's put it all together. Let's put everything inside. Let's see how it fits together. Let's practice and put it together for your GORUCK Tough event. Let's do it.
Sometimes your brain isn't ready to record, and despite your best efforts, you just can't make it work. Let's start all over. Page with Facebook. Most of the time there's a GORUCK God man, I just cannot talk today. Nalgene bottle. Let's just start over, JB. This is not a good day for recording. Anyway, let's try this again from the top. This is the video to tell you how to pack out your rucker and get all the gear for your rucker for your GORUCK Tough event that you just signed up for. So fantastic, good job, you did it, you signed up. Now let's talk about everything you need to be successful. And I'm not gonna get into the clothing and some of the other stuff you might have on your body. That's gonna be for a later video when we talk about game day execution. But this is mostly about what's on your back, what's in the ruck that's on your back, and some little tips. Where do you look? Well, first of all, this video is a great resource because it kind of gets it all and puts it in one spot. But the first step that you should do is check the event page from GORUCK, the one you signed up with. Go to that page and there's a list of all the gear that you need for the event. We'll go through that list shortly here. Same list that you would get yourself. The second thing is go to Facebook and look for an event. Now, normally GORUCK creates event pages for all their events. You can go and find that specific to your location. Why? Because first of all, you'll be able to meet some of the other people that you're going to be doing this event with. The second thing is the cadre for the event, the representative from GORUCK that's going to lead this event is going to be in that group, and they're going to maybe give you some special things that you need for your ruck for that event. Here's an example. I did a GORUCK Tough event that was centered around Veterans Day, and so we needed to bring a photo of a veteran, living or dead, and have it at the event. Wouldn't it have been terrible if you didn't have that? Here's one pro tip before we even get into any of the gear. The pro tip is if you're supposed to bring something specific that you only learned on that Facebook event page and it's small, bring two. So I brought two pictures of two veterans. One I knew and was going to talk about. The other one was one in history that anybody could talk about. We get to the event and we look around and say, who doesn't have a photo of a veteran? There were several people. What, you don't have one? Okay, here's a spare one. Now you're a hero to the rest of your group because you didn't have to do extra burpees for someone that didn't have whatever specific little item. Those are kind of rare instances, but definitely check those two sources when you're going to build your list for the GORUCK Tough event. So that brings me to the list. So let's real briefly go over whatever the GORUCK required list is, and then I'll give you some of my addendums. All right, straight up from the GORUCK list, rucksack, yep, more about that later. Ruck plate, obviously, and I'm not going to talk about ruck plates too much right now, but the quick and dirty is you need a 30-pound plate if you weigh more than 150 pounds. If you weigh less than 150 pounds, you'll need a 20-pound plate. Hydration bladder, yep, more about that. Nalgene bottle, yep. Participants, oral hydration salts, yep, I'll talk about that in nutrition. Reflective ruck bands, yes, if required. Headlamp and extra batteries. First aid kit, yep. Face mask, don't worry about it. Gloves, definitely bring two, not surgical. These are the ones that you would wear for to protect your hands. Windbreaker, I always bring one. Hand sanitizer and wipes, it's on the list. I would skip it. I would risk that one. Photo ID, $20 cash just in case, and then 25-pound plate as a team. All that stuff is for later. Some things that I would add just right off the top. My additionals: carabiner, dry bag, spare gloves, spare socks, spare shirt, pocket knife, small Nalgene bottle, nylon runners, and a pool noodle and some duct tape. those are my pro tips later about that. So anyway, that's the list from GORUCK and my quick little addendum list. Now let's dive into the rucksack and everything that goes in it, and let's go piece by piece so you can know what you need and how to put it together. Boom. So let's talk first about the rucksack. Now in your training, if you watched my Rucking 101 video, you don't need a specific rucksack. You can use any backpack out of your closet, put some weight in it, and start training. When you get closer to doing an event, I highly recommend a GORUCK RUCKER as the bag that you would choose. You can make it work with a GR1 from GORUCK, but the RUCKER is specifically designed to carry that weight plate in an elevated pocket that will completely protect it and you during the event. So I can't stress enough and highly recommend enough that you get a RUCKER for this event. I've done quick reviews of the RUCKER 4.0 and a 3.0 video, so you can watch those at your leisure. This one, I'm not going to go detail about it, but you're going to learn a lot about the RUCKER as we go through it. But anyway, on the outside, patch of choice. This one happens to be from the local RUCK Club. Not a member of a RUCK Club, go to the GORUCK page. There's a Find a RUCK Club link somewhere in there, and you can find the local RUCK Club and learn to train and learn more about it from people in your area. Carabiner, my carabiner goes on the outside. A lot of uses for a carabiner, but the default for me is it carries my spare pair of gloves after I get them wet. So I'm wearing a pair of gloves, I'm walking around, somehow they got wet, oh my, and then I take out my dry pair. The wet pair hangs on the back so they can dry throughout the event so that they're dry if I get the other pair wet. So I only bring two, but they hang on the outside, and that's normally how I use the carabiner. On the back, we'll see some things. We'll talk about hydration bladders once we get on the inside, but the hose is routed and using some web dominators, some little clips to lash that down so it doesn't fly all over the place. I've talked on different videos about these things. These are little nylon runners, things that you can use to put your hands in them to give you another position so you don't have blood pool in them. It also allows you to lift the ruck off your shoulders, and it's just another little neat thing. That's pro tip. You don't need these, but they're cheap and easy to find. I got a link in the description for all this stuff and these included. What you'll see also here is the hip belt. I don't normally ruck with a hip belt because this bag is so short on me, it doesn't give me an opportunity to really just let it rest on my hips. But during an event, when you're in the plank position, doing a bear crawl, something where this ruck is above your head, it's really nice to keep that ruck in place so it doesn't slide forward and hit you in the back of the head. So definitely wearing a hip belt during the event. It just attaches to the side of the RUCKER 4.0, 3.0, and really all the generations have that webbing on the side to attach the hip belt. So definitely get one. You'll thank me later. On the outside, that's essentially it for accessories, things you'll need to add to the RUCKER. They all come with sternum straps. If you don't have a sternum strap and need to install one, there's a video about that because that is a frustrating process. Glad that they install them at the factory or warehouse or wherever they put them on. Definitely cool. There is something on the list that says reflective strips. Well, if you've got a RUCKER 3.0 or 4.0, you don't need the additional reflective strips. You want to add them? Great. Don't need them. You have reflective strip built into your bag, so save yourself the hassle and don't install them. That's the outside of the bag. Let's dive into what I have on the inside. Ta-da! All right, so here's the inside of the RUCKER 4.0. And if you watched my 4.0 video, one of my biggest frustrations with this bag is it doesn't have this front pocket to put on some dry gloves or some food. That's normally where it would live for me, but I don't have that option, nor do you if you have a 4.0. That's my biggest headache about this bag, to be honest. Now, inside, let's talk about hydration. The bladder is going to carry most of your water. Routed to the front, expert, excellent, and it works perfectly. Gives you water on the go, and that's how we work. The other things, I bring two more sources of hydration. Actually, there's a fourth one. And this is the large Nalgene bottle. It's on the list, definitely bring it. And these things don't weigh very much, so I don't mind the weight or the space. Here's why. There's several uses of this Nalgene bottle, and the number one reason is because it gives you a backup to your bladder. What if it rips a hole, or if you burst it, you drop it, boom, now it's gone. You really want a way to carry water. This is backup number one. So now you have a backup source. It also gives you the ability to carry more water. So if it's really, really hot in your summertime, first of all, why did you sign up for that one? But if it's July, August, and you're in Texas, you're doing this event with a full bladder of water. Wouldn't it be nice to have more? Here it is. Now you have more weight on your back, but you have more water in case there's not that frequent of stops. The pro tip use of this, and I use this all the time, is when you stop to get water during an event, you need to fill this up. Option 1, take this whole thing apart, take your bladder over to where it is, fill it up, bring it back, and reinstall it. That's a pain in the neck. Take your whole ruck over, option 2, and fill it with it still attached. Now you're getting water splashed over and getting all your stuff wet unnecessarily. Don't do that. So my option is I walk over with this bottle, I fill it up at the source, whether it's somebody pouring a 5-gallon jug or it's something attached to a wall or a hose. Then I come back and I fill my bladder with that. I can go back multiple times to do that, and I keep my all my stuff dry and intact. I don't have to reinstall everything because that just takes time, and you might be in the dark, it might be under pressure, so I don't have to do any of that because I just use it as this as my water transportation system. That's how I use the big bottle. The second bottle, little smaller Nalgene bottle, is this one has one purpose. If you watched my Star Course video, this is for the noon energy tablets or any sort of electrolyte tablets you would put in there, fill it up with water, use this, and then I'm not getting the rest of my sources of water all contaminated with the electrolyte goo or whatever. So that's just how I do it. And it's also another source of water. If all this other stuff fails, you at least have something. But this bottle only does one thing, and it does the electrolyte thing. So that's why I have 2 water bottles. Wrapping up my entire discussion about hydration is I also have one of these platypus little portable water bottles. I don't ever expect to use this because it's got this small little opening, but it's in here because, you know, what if it fails? And to be honest, hydration is the #1 thing that I'm concerned about on an event, because staying hydrated just makes everything else work. Now the other thing, moving on from hydration, let's talk about keeping things dry. And I have several Sea to Summit bags that I use to keep things dry. Inside here, a pair of socks and a spare pair of gloves. That's it. You could bring 2 pairs of socks and maybe even a t-shirt balled up inside here would be fine. It would keep it dry. You want things dry because guaranteed, or I should say high probability, that during an event they're going to find water. Either you're going to go to a fire station, fire department, they're going to hose you down until you're soaked, or they're going to find some body of water, drainage, ditch, etc., and put you in it, submerge you until you're completely soaked, and then get you out. So having things dry is very nice, whether you change into it right after that or some point later. Definitely want to have dry things in your ruck. Not too many, don't overpack. A windbreaker, and this would be typically in another dry sack, probably put that in there, but this is, they say below 60 degrees, but to be honest, I've used this a lot of times even when it's above 60 degrees. Windy day where that wind is just cutting through you, it's just nice to knock it down. Doesn't weigh much, get something packable windbreaker, get it wherever, get it something cheap, something you can put in your bag, no problem. Nutrition. This is very personal. Whatever you train with, definitely pack it there. Don't overpack food. You're really not going to think much about food. You're going to be too busy. But anything you can eat on the go is definitely something I would recommend, whether it's by Cliff or whoever. Just definitely test it out beforehand so it doesn't give you any gastrointestinal issues. And then noon energy, I've already talked about that a little bit. I like the ones with energy because it gives me a little pick-me-up in the middle of the night. The other thing, last little pro tip about nutrition is get something that you really enjoy, something small, travel size, and put it in there. Peanut M&Ms being my #1. Put them in there, you'll maybe forget about it, and at 2 in the morning when you're looking at your spirit animal, you're gonna find the M&Ms, and your life will dramatically change. So highly recommend that. If you're looking at this video and you're wondering what this little silver tab is, I just have this little tiny clip, little night eyes clip. Just gives me a little more space to hang that, not required. This bladder attaches just fine to the D-ring that's in there, but you know, use it if you want. What's in the big pocket? First of all, I would bring some sort of Ziploc. This is really my first aid kit's in 2 pieces. Band-aids, that's really all I'm gonna need out of a first aid kit. And then the second part is foot maintenance. And so I use tape, this is Luca tape, and then some trail toes, just goo to put around your toes. Petroleum jelly would also work, or some Aquaphor, some other things, just small tubes of something that if you're going to need to doctor up your feet for whatever reason, then that's usually what my issue is. definitely put that in there. So that's the first aid section of the bag. The last thing in here is a pocket knife, something small. I don't need a huge Rambo knife or anything, but something small. You never know where you're going to need it, whether it's first aid issues or cutting some cord or doing whatever it happens to be. But a small pocket knife, just throw in the bag and then forget about it. Unless you're traveling by airplane to whatever event you're going to, then either pick up a knife where you're going or just skip the knife altogether. But just remember it's in there so you don't travel, forget about it, and then have to explain to TSA why you've got a knife in your backpack. That's, you know, maybe happened to me. I mentioned earlier pool noodle. Why did I mention pool noodle? Well, here's why. You're probably going to be carrying something heavy. And the benefit of having a small section of pool noodle, just maybe about 12 inches or so, maybe slice it down one side, or you've got a pocket knife so you could do that later. The purpose behind this pool noodle is A, it's not very heavy, and it could pad various things. But when you are carrying a litter, stretcher, or something else heavy, it gives your shoulder something to rest on, or something that cushions whatever that happens to be. So just a small pool noodle section. I had one around here somewhere. I can't find it. But anyway, get a pool noodle section and then a little bit of duct tape. Don't bring the whole roll. Just take some duct tape and roll it up till you have maybe, I don't know, a couple feet of duct tape and throw it in your bag. You never know. Duct tape is one of those things that you can use for about a million things. So that's the packing list beginning to end. Two things that normally come up when you're talking about a GORUCK event. Should I bring my watch and how would I protect my phone? First of all, let's talk about the phone. You can get, and this is a Pelican 1040 case, something hard shell to put your phone in. This was great for everything up to an iPhone Max, so it doesn't fit me right now. But it was definitely something I would put in. A, would keep it dry, and B, would protect it if I'm throwing this ruck around. Back to my previous conversation about getting wet, you definitely want to have some way to keep your phone dry. But what I've done recently is I don't even bring my phone with me, because you're going to throw this ruck all over the place. You're going to kick it around, and I just don't want to have to worry about my phone, A, being wet, and B, just being abused because there's a 30-pound plate, introducing itself to it every time I throw this bag down. So I don't worry about it. Don't even bring my phone. Should you bring a watch? That is something that's kind of changed over time and has really become more of a cadre specific thing. It used to be that you didn't bring a watch. They didn't want you to know what time it was. They didn't want you to record your mileage. So watches were sort of just not allowed. People migrated to bringing the watch, putting it in their bag so it was recording mileage, and then they could maybe peek at it at some point. Doesn't really matter to me. And now a lot of times cadre just don't care. Bring your watch, record the distance. They want to see it at the end anyway in terms of the mileage that you accomplish at the end of the night. So that's my 2 cents on watches. Just, if you're worried about it, definitely get something more rugged, like a Garmin Epix or a Garmin Phoenix series. But other than, I just wouldn't wear an Apple Watch because it's not going to last through the whole event anyway, and it's very susceptible to being damaged if you're going to throw it around. So there it is. That's it. Everything you need to know to pack out your GORUCK RUCKER 3.0, 4.0 with everything you need for a GORUCK tough event. This stuff will work for a light event as well. And really, the tough and light is really about the same in terms of what I'm going to take with me. If I'm going to do a heavy, it's going to change a little bit more because I'm going to want probably some more robust nutrition and probably have some other things comfort-wise for the longer duration event. But that's it. Packing for your tough. I'm excited. Go do it.
So there it is, the list, everything you need for a GORUCK Tough event. Hopefully that video was helpful to you. If it is, give it a thumbs up. Helps other people see the video. Subscribe so you can see what's happening next. I have other videos planned around the GORUCK event, namely the game day execution and some training tips. So those will be coming out probably in the next month or two as I get through a backlog of some other videos that I have planned. A lot of great content, so definitely sign up for alerts so you can see that content when it comes out. Usually on Fridays, sometimes midweek if I get really saucy. But in the meantime, if you have another tip about GORUCK events, leave a comment down below. Love to continue the conversation and help other people prepare for a GORUCK event, and so they can enjoy this weirdo community called GORUCK. See ya.